on to Spinal Tap II, the end continues. I'll be honest, my expectations were not high. I love the original This Is Spinal Tap, and I think it's one of the smartest comedies ever made, but long-delayed sequels almost never live up to the magic. Too often, they feel like shallow cash grabs, leaning on nostalgia without adding anything meaningful. Because of that, I prepared myself for disappointment. Still, curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to see if the band could possibly strike the right chord again after so many years. To my surprise, I actually enjoyed the sequel more than I expected.
It's good. It's good.
It's not groundbreaking, and it doesn't reinvent the mockumentary wheel, but it does capture enough of the charm, absurdity, and heart that made the original so memorable. The actors slip back into their roles effortlessly, and the humor works far more often than it does. While I wouldn't say it comes close to being as iconic as the original, I left the theater laughing and genuinely happy with the ride. The basic story picks up with the band members now older, washed up, and even more delusional than ever. They reunite for a so-called final tour, trying to prove to themselves and the world that they still matter in today's music industry. Naturally, things go wrong at every turn. Shows collapse, bookings fall apart, stage malfunctions abound, and their egos remain hilariously oversized. It feels familiar but not repetitive, since the movie smartly places these disasters in modern setting. The comedy is one of the film's strongest points. That same dry, deadpan humor from the original is alive and well here. The absurdity builds naturally from the bland's cluelessness, and the writing captures the mix of confidence and stupidity that defines Spinal Tap. Jokes rarely feel forced, and even though some punchlines lean on callbacks, the timing and delivery still made me laugh. The characters remain fantastic. Nigel, David, and Derek haven't lost a beat, and their chemistry carries the film. Even after all this time, they embody the same ridiculous energy that made them classics in the first place. They feel like themselves, not like actors trying to recapture something they lost years ago. That authenticity makes the movie work. What I appreciated was that the film didn't just rehash the old stuff. Instead of endlessly recycling gags like Stonehenge or Turn It Up to 11, the story introduces new elements that fit naturally with today's world. The band gets tangled up in streaming culture, social media fiascos, and exploitative industry practices, which keeps the satire relevant. This fresh material balances nicely with the callbacks. The movie also deserves credit for the way it brings in new characters. From greedy promoters to clueless executives, the supporting cast adds new angles to the satire. They're exaggerated but believable, and they give Spinal Tap plenty of modern absurdities to play off of. These additions prevent the movie from feeling like just a rerun of the original. Another major positive is that the film doesn't try too hard to modernize. Some legacy sequels bend over backward to feel current, and it usually ends up awkward or cringeworthy. Here, the creators seem to understand that Spinal Tap's humor works in any era. They didn't force the band to change drastically. They just let them be themselves in today's music landscape. That balance makes it feel authentic and not desperate. Fan satisfaction is also ended well. The movie delivers just enough nostalgia to reward long-time fans while still telling its own story. There are winks and nods to classic moments, but they don't completely overshadow the new material. It feels like the filmmakers respected the original fans without pandering too hard. That said, the movie isn't without negatives. One of the biggest issues is the sheer number of cameos. At first they're funny, but after a while it starts to feel like the film is leaning too heavily on celebrity appearances instead of trusting its own comedy. It becomes distracting and takes away from the band's story. There's also an over-reliance on nostalgia in some places. While the callbacks are fun in moderation, a few moments felt like the movie was elbowing me in the ribs, saying, "Remember this?" without offering anything new. It's not enough to sing the film, but it did feel unnecessary at times. Some scenes also come across as uncomfortable or tone-deaf. The intention is clearly satire, but a few moments don't land the way they should and instead feel awkward. The humor in Spinal Tap has always been edgy, but in today's context, certain jokes feel a bit out of step. Another issue is the runtime. The movie is just too short for its own good. It feels like it cuts off just when the story could have dug deeper, and some jokes or plot points don't get enough room to breathe. Ironically, there are also moments where the pacing drags despite the short length, which makes the film feel uneven. Pacing overall is one of the weaker aspects. Some scenes rush by before they've fully landed, while others linger too long on a gag that isn't strong enough to justify it. The flaw isn't nearly as smooth as the original mockumentary, which hurts the overall experience. Despite all of those issues, I walked away liking this movie. It's far from perfect, but it's also far better than I feared it would be. It respects the original, adds some fresh ideas, and delivers enough laughs to make it worthwhile. It's not on the same level as This is Spinal Tap, but honestly nothing could be. As a sequel arriving decades later, this is about as good as I could have hoped for. For me, it's a solid 7 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on Spinal Tap II. The end continues. I'm curious what you think. Did it work for you, or did it feel unnecessary? Do you think it lived up to the original at all, or was it just a fun but forgettable sequel? Let me know your take, and I'll see you next time.